Living on base versus off base. All right, what's up, YouTube fam? My name is Emilio. I'm a real estate agent here out in Tucson, Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, and I'm also still active duty. So if you're looking to buy or sell in the area or you're coming to the area, reach out to me. My number is 520-820-1948, or you can also book a call so we can chat one-on-one. All right, living on base versus off base. So first, we're gonna be talking about the pros and cons of living on base, and then the pros and cons of living off base. This is such a great divide when I speak about this to some people at work. A lot of people have very specific reasons that they choose to live on base versus off base, and a lot of them do have families, and some of them are single. So it just depends on the individual and what their values and priorities are. All right, number one pro of living on base, you don't have to pay for basic utilities. So whenever you move on base, all of your basic utilities are going to be completely covered. Everything from your water, your trash, your light bill, and your gas. Now that means you can keep your house nice and cool at a nice 68 degrees and you won't pay out of pocket for any of that, especially in this damn Tucson heat. If you know, you know. Meaning that can save you a few hundred extra dollars a month on utilities alone if you decide to move on base because you won't have to pay all that extra stuff. Number two of pro living on base, the traffic and the gates. Dear God, if you've ever been to a base where there's such high traffic in the morning that you have to come almost an hour early and sit at the gate just to wait there and get on base, it is horrible. Now, this is one significant benefit that you're going to get while living on base. You're not going to have to deal with any of that BS. Now, again, this can vary dramatically depending on the base you're at and how many people are there. Now, also, it's super convenient if you have to drive back home and you're only a few minutes away. If you forgot your lunch, you have to go grab something really quick. That's pretty convenient if you're on base. Number three pro of living on base. Now, generally speaking, this is a pretty secure place to live in. You're technically in a gated community, and there's guards right at the gate controlling exactly who comes in and who does not. Now, people generally also have less tendencies to commit small crimes on base, such as theft, break ins, and things like that. However, this doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. Number four pro of living on base. Now, this is a huge pay point for some of my renters off base, but the silly pet fees and pet deposits that you have to pay every single month and every time you sign a new lease is such a pain in the rear. Now, while you live off base, you don't have to pay or deal with any of that stuff. No deposits, no monthly pet fees, and any of that. However, not every animal is allowed on base. Now, here at DM, there are very certain restrictions on the type of breed of dog that you can have and the actual type of animal that you can have, such as no reptiles and things like that. But check with your local housing office at the base you're going to be going to or at the base that you're stationed at now and double check if they have any other very specific restrictions. Number five pro of living on base. Now, generally, you're going to have a lot of amenities on base as well as in the neighborhoods that you're actually in. For example, for my families out there, DM has a splash pad, three basketball courts, and 16 small parks that are scattered across all the neighborhoods. Not only do you have all these basic amenities located within your neighborhood, but you also have access to all the other things that come with living on base, such as the BX, the commissary, a bank normally, a gas station, which is sometimes 24/7 depending on the base you're at, and of course the gym. And those are all just probably a couple of minutes away from your home. And lastly, with that, you normally have a office that you can go and get access to free items such as air filters, pest control items, and sandbags, depending on the location you're in and the type of weather that you have. All right, moving on to cons of living on base. Number one, the most significant one, in my opinion, is no BAH. Now, for those of you that don't know, BAH or Basic Allowance of Housing is a monthly allowance that you get from the military that is supposed to be helping you to go towards any rent or associated utility costs, such as that. Now, this is going to range depending on the zip code you're in, your rank, and if you have dependents or not. And because you're living on base, this means that you're not going to be able to get that monthly allowance in your paycheck. Now, this is generally going to range from just $1,000 on the lower end to a few grand every month if you're located in a crazy real estate market like California, New York, or Hawaii. Number two con of living on base, restrictions to base access. If you have family or friends that are not associated with the military and you want to bring them on base just to visit your home, then you're going to have to go to the gate and sponsor them. Now, generally, this doesn't take too long, but this is just another hurdle you have to go through if you're living on base. Also, no Uber Eats or DoorDash. Now, unless the driver has an actual military ID that they're able to use to get on base, then you're generally not going to have access to those services while you're living on base. Number three con of living on base, and this is definitely one you want to consider if you're in a very active Air Force base, but golly, the noise that you get from some of these planes is ridiculous. Now, living on base generally means that your house is going to be much closer to those damn runways and aprons where they're housing dozens and dozens of fighter aircraft or bombers at times. This means that you're going to have those things taking off at 9 in the morning at full afterburner, and sometimes you can have your home and windows rattling. Now, some of you might not mind this and generally get used to it. However, if you're on an off shift like swings or mids and you're trying to sleep in the morning and you have those things taking off, it is going to be a pretty big nuisance. Now, again, this is going to vary on the base that you're at, the type of aircraft they have, and how busy they actually are, meaning how many flights are they taking off. I would highly suggest you do your research, ask around how bad is the noise, and how much you think you'll be able to put up with it. Number four con of living on base. Now, essentially, you're basically a renter, meaning you're going to have limitations as to what you can do to your home and what modifications you're able to do. This is going to vary depending on the base that you're at. So, again, check with your local guidance at your base housing office. And because you're living on base with that renter status, the home that you're going to get is highly dependent on the availability that they have. Now, depending on the peak season of PCS and how many people they have coming in and all that, it's going to be very selective. And just a quick side note also, sometimes these neighborhoods on base are privatized, meaning that the government has contracted private companies to come in and manage and maintain those homes. All right, part two of this video, living off base. Now we're going to start off with one of the biggest pros that you're going to have while living off base, and that is using your VA loan. Now this obviously means that you're going to be able to go out, buy a family residence with your VA loan. And with that, you're going to have the opportunity to earn appreciation over the years as you own that property. And basically also do whatever you want with that property if you want to rent or eventually sell it. Number two pro, just like we spoke about earlier, extra cash in your check. Again, you're going to be receiving the extra monthly allowance that the military is going to be giving you. Now, if you're able to snag and secure a place off base that's less than your BAH, that means you're going to be able to pocket the difference. Number three pro of living off base. Now, this is a big one, and that is that your living situation and expenses are a lot more in your control. For example, you have the choice to rent or buy living off base. If you decide to buy and get a mortgage for 30 years, this means that you're not concerned with a damn landlord trying to raise your rent every year. Your monthly payment is going to be generally the same for the next 30 years. It might change with property taxes increasing, but generally speaking, it is going to be the same. But you know what's not going to be the same? The amount of BAH that you're going to get every year. While you're going to have that same mortgage, your BAH is generally going to increase year after year, meaning that the gap between your mortgage and your BAH is going to get bigger every year, and you're able to pocket more money year after year. All right, before we get into the cons of living off base, based off of what you've heard, hit the comments section and tell me what you would personally prefer. And also, if you're looking to buy or sell in the Tucson, Arizona area, reach out to me and I'd love to get some help to you. Or if you're looking to buy or sell at another state or base, let me know and I can connect you with an agent that's an expert in helping military families. All right, number one con of living off base. Now, oftentimes, the BAH rate that you get every month is sometimes not enough to cover your actual expenses of living off base, such as your rent and basic utilities. You have to remember that this BAH allowance is public info, meaning that renters are allowed to go on the internet and look it up and basically adjust their prices as they see fit. Now, this might mean that in order to cover your basic expenses of rent and utilities, you're going to have to dip into your regular base pay, maybe a couple $100s. Number two con that I hear most often of living off base, especially in this damn desert, but the fact that you're not on base and you're able to have your home at a nice 68 degrees all year round and not have to have that come out of your pocket. Now, if you're in a part of the country that has those more extreme sides of the winter and summer months, then you're obviously going to see a spike in your utility usage during that time, and that's going to come out of your pocket. Now, lastly, the number three con of living off base that I hear so often is the commute and the traffic that you get. Now, as I mentioned earlier, your commute is going to significantly depend on the area that you're in and the traffic that you personally have. Now, if you add up all the time that you spend commuting to and from work, it can be a significant amount if you look at it over a year. This is something that you're not going to have to worry about if you live on base. And not to mention, if you forget your damn CAC and you're already at the gate and you spend the last 40 minutes driving to work and now you have to go all the way back just to get that damn card, I can't tell you how frustrating that is. All right, again, my name is Emilio. I'm your local Tucson, Arizona real estate agent, and I'm also active duty here. Now, if you're in the area looking to buy or sell, reach out to me. Or if you're at another state or base, I can connect you with a proven real estate agent that's able to help military families just like you achieve your goals.